Hi, everyone, and welcome to Lincoln Township Public Library's podcast, Beyond the Stacks. I am Brian Johnston, the Adult Services Librarian here, and with me is my co-host, Children's Librarian Amy Nolan. Amy, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, we've got a great episode lined up for you today. We're going to be talking with a local homeschooling teacher, Noel Bash. And Amy, the library has a regularly occurring event for homeschooling families. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, I would love to. It's called Homeschool Hangout, and we are meeting every other Wednesday through December. And because of the library renovations, we are meeting in 2 different locations. And all of this information is on our website and on our library events calendar. But what it is every other Wednesday at 10 a.m., we meet and we're together for anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. It's open to all ages of children. We've got babes in arms up to high schoolers who attend with their parent. And for this coming semester, that's what I refer to it as, every time we meet, we are having a presenter. So we're having an artist come and teach the kids how to do watercolor painting. I'm having Medic One come with EMS techs, and they're also going to let the kids look at the ambulance in the parking lot, which is I'm very excited about. We're having Fernwood come and do a presentation. All of these are listed, as I said, in the events calendar on our library website page. But we call it Homeschool Hangout because it's a chance for homeschooling families to get together, for the kids and the parents to learn something, but also to make necessary connections within the homeschooling community. And it's been a real joy to see. Lincoln Township's been hosting this for almost a year and a half now, and it has grown, and the word is spreading, and I'm so happy, and everybody is welcome to check it out. So look at the calendar. It's every other Wednesday. First couple of times we're meeting at Tryon School, and then we're moving it to Royalton Township Hall.
Yeah, that sounds great. So, I was here last year during some of these events, and I saw we had some great guests come in. A lot of our patrons were having tons of fun. A lot of days we were having really great turnout. So, what are some of the benefits that you've seen our patrons enjoy from coming to these events?
First and foremost, I think that the kids are have the availability then to hear speakers or to do projects that they might get if they were in a regular enrollment in a public school or a private school, and we're trying to bring that to them. So we've had 4-H come and do really cool science experiments with them. I kind of did a career day type thing last year where I had a police officer come in, I had a firefighter come in, I had a nurse who teaches at Lake Michigan College come in and talk about emergency medicine. Just a variety of things. And the families are really good about telling me what they'd like to see. And on top of all of that, it is the meeting and the bonding that they do with other families. And we get a lot of families coming in who have not homeschooled before. There's a ton of questions, and there are families in this group who can lead them to all different sorts of resources throughout the county.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So whether you're a new homeschooling family or you've been doing it a while or anywhere in between, I'm sure we'd love to have you come out to these events. And I think what I really like about it is that it kind of gives both parents and children an opportunity to kind of see that the library is a place of lifelong learning.
Exactly.
Like even after they graduate from high school, they're still, while they're in high school, or in elementary school or wherever it may be, they're still getting opportunities to see the many ways that the library can kind of expand their world and expand their knowledge and help them to learn. And they can carry those experiences with them and hopefully remember them when they become adults and keep coming here afterwards.
Yes, well said.
Yeah.
And I would like to emphasize, while it is Homeschool Hangout, this is not exclusively for homeschooling families. If you are available with you and your child at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday, we would love to have you come. And we do get families like that. So this is, while it's geared for homeschooling families, and by that I mean because of the time of day that it is open to everybody. So if there's something that catches your eye and you and your child happen to be available, please come and join us.
Yeah, just one of many great events we have going on for all ages here. But if you're available on those Wednesday mornings, we'd love to see you here. All right, let's get started. Our guest here today is Noel Bash, who is a local homeschooling teacher. Noel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. Thanks so much. So why don't you start off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm an elementary school teacher, K through 8, and I was teaching adult ed locally when we realized that one of our kids needed a different approach to school. So I started looking into homeschooling, and I've been involved in the homeschooling community ever since, both as a parent and as a teacher.
Wonderful.
That's fantastic. Yeah. What are some of the most common reasons, do you think, that people choose to homeschool?
It could be anything from what we experienced. Our kids needed a different approach. Some people do it because for cultural reasons. They want to make sure they're raising their children in alliance with their own culture. Some people, I have a lot of student athletes. All those students you saw in the Olympics,
right.
A lot of those kids are homeschooled. Tennis, swimming, equestrian, hockey. When you get to that national level and you're traveling so much, homeschool is a natural fit for those students as well.
Do you know, I never thought about that. That makes a lot of sense.
It does. There's all kinds of reasons. And some people want the freedom. They want the freedom to travel. They want the freedom for their student to go at a different pace, maybe in math, than they do in language arts. All kinds of reasons.
Yeah, we see lots of prominent homeschools. You were mentioning athletics. I know Tim Tebow years ago. He was homeschooled, and he ended up winning the Heisman Trophy and a national championship. So that was pretty impressive.
Exactly.
So the next question we have is if a parent wants to start homeschooling their children, what are some of the first steps that they need to take in order to do that?
Well, they need to figure out what it is they want to do as far as curriculum. The state of Michigan is pretty liberal as far as homeschool laws. You can just inform the school district that you're going to start homeschooling. And the state says you need to be teaching your child in language arts, social studies, history and math, or science and math in a progressive manner, in a way that builds on those skills. So you need to look for what kind of curriculum would fit with your style, with your students' learning style, and reach out. There are plenty of people in the community. There are lots of organizations who can sit down with you and say, here's some ideas. It's a great way to look at what's out there. There's so many different options. But really, you can just start. You can just start.
I like that advice.
Yeah,
yes.
That's great.
In your experience, is there a age or a grade level that you see a lot of families start to look into homeschooling who weren't planning on it?
It really varies. Some people homeschool in the early years because they just want that time with their kids. Some people, their kids start to go to school and then think, well, I really like that freedom that we had, and they go to homeschooling. Some people prefer to homeschool once their children get to the teen years, so they have a little bit more control over their kids' activities and who their kids are with during the day, what they're exposed to. Some people are the other way. They homeschool up until middle school or high school, and then they want their kids to have that school experience. It really is what works for your family. And often I tell parents who are asking, remember, this is not an irrevocable decision.
Yes.
Try it. If you think you want to do it, look into it. Let's find information for you and try it, and understand that there are other options, and you can change your mind again if you find out that something else is a good fit for your child.
Do you think it's more challenging than people are expecting, or do you think that they're surprised in the ease that they find?
I think the biggest, when you're taking your child out of school, the biggest kind of shell shock moment is realizing that your child is with you, or your children, all day, every day, 365 days a year.
Yeah.
There's
Look out, folks.
You don't have that morning rush, that drop-off line, and who's got their folder, and who's got their shoes, and who's got their library book, and is the lunch money there, and did I sign your agenda? You don't have that, but what you do have is your kids.
Right.
You don't have that, oh, okay, I'm going to run to the grocery store. Yes, you can run to the grocery store, but you're taking your kids with you.
Right.
So there's a little bit of that, oh, right, I'm still here. They're still home.
So next question would be like, as you've been doing this over the years, what are some of the ways in which homeschooling has changed throughout the years?
I think there are a lot more options now. It used to be you sort of had to choose from maybe 2 different curriculums if you could find them, or sort of pull things together on your own. Now there are so many different curriculums. There are so many different things, like the partnership in Berrien Springs. Niles also has a partnership that offer hundreds of extracurricular activities, all free for homeschoolers. There are co-ops where you can meet. Some are for fun, some are for academics. There are groups of people who get together and the parents take turns teaching whatever the subjects are that co-op has chosen. There are just so many options. If you come into the library on any random weekday
For sure.
during school hours, you will see kids everywhere. They're all homeschoolers. They're doing things their own way.
Now, I'm dying to know how you felt the pandemic affected homeschooling in this area.
Some people couldn't wait for schools to open again. A lot of people found that their kids, for whatever reason, did better at home. Maybe a student with a medical need, or a student who is in 3rd grade and maybe that's where they are in language arts, but is ready for a much higher math level, and they could customize that at home a little bit more. So it really has opened a lot of people's eyes to homeschooling, but some people didn't feel they were completely equipped to do it, and they didn't want their kid in front of a screen all day.
Right.
So it's given rise to a lot more programs, a lot more people asking questions about what are some of the options besides virtual or brick and mortar. What else is out there?
Okay.
So did you see an upsurge in people in this area
Definitely.
choosing homeschooling?
Definitely. Our numbers have grown tremendously.
Wow. So if you are a homeschooling family, what are some of the benefits of finding other homeschooling families to interact with in the community?
Well, they're the same as the benefits of finding other people who share your hobbies, your interests. Your kids will have friends. You have support. You have somebody who you can say, how did you do this? Because I don't know what to do. They can even point you towards, I use this resource that you might not have heard of. Sometimes you just meet up at the park.
Correct. Yeah.
Like you did when your kids were younger, and you would have a park day if you had young children. A lot of people still have park days for their elementary school age or even middle school age kids. The kids bring their bikes or their skateboards or whatever, and you can go to the park right here by Lincoln Township Library with the splash pad and just hang out. But it's just nice to have that support. You don't feel quite so worried that you have to figure out everything on your own. Mm-hmm. You have other people you can turn to who you get to know.
And local resources, like you were referring to, I know that they call them partnerships.
Yes.
Is that the school district partnering with homeschooling parents? Is that why they use that term?
It is. It's called a parent partnership.
Okay.
And the Berrien Springs one is huge. Berrien Springs welcomes homeschoolers as schools of choice students, but they don't provide any academics. They provide their extracurricular activities.
Okay.
Everything you can imagine. Any community class that a kid can take. Anything from hockey, violin lessons, art at Krasl, all kinds of different dance and gymnastics and ham radio and glass blowing. And if you can imagine it in this community, somebody is offering it as a class, and partnership then pays for your child to take those classes.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Wow.
The Berrien Springs Partnership has over 1,400 students this semester. We're taking advantage of that program, and they are in hundreds of different classes. It's absolutely an incredible
And do you have to be a resident of Berrien Springs, or do you have to be in the county?
Berrien, Cass, and Van Buren County.
Wow.
So it's quite a large program. It's a big geographical area. Now, if you live farther out, you're driving your kid to those classes.
Right.
So
Right.
most of the people tend to be within half an hour or so of Berrien Springs.
And then you said Niles has a partnership
Niles
also?
has a partnership as well. Theirs is set up a little bit differently, but they do the same thing. You go in as a schools of choice student, and you take extracurriculars through them. A lot of kids do swim team or, oh my goodness, crochet.
Wow.
It's absolutely, it's phenomenal.
So
Stained
these are
glass.
extracurriculars, but for academics, there are some school districts, I'm not sure, I think St. Joe, I don't know about Lakeshore, where homeschool kids can take classes at least the high school, right?
There are
Like advanced math classes or maybe things that the parent doesn't feel equipped.
There are some options. The CTE, Career and Technical Education
Okay.
classes in the county are open to homeschoolers. My own son took the athletic trainer class at
Okay.
St. Joe High School. So he went every day for that couple of hours for a whole school year and did that athletic trainer CTE class. And that's things like nursing, welding, robotics, I can't remember all the other CTEs,
Sure.
auto shop. And then, so those are open to homeschoolers through partnership. Berrien Springs does offer an academic option for homeschoolers.
Oh, wow.
The information for that is on the Berrien Springs Public Schools page under Our Schools. So there are choices out there if you want. It's definitely part of the options.
So for parents interested in it, just starting, maybe haven't made the call to do one or the other, should they just start investigating these different partnerships, looking at curriculum that they could see online, and maybe attend one of these parent programs that you referred to?
I would definitely start by asking a lot of questions and gathering a lot of information. It can be done relatively inexpensively, but a parent does have to be home.
Right.
And so that's a big consideration for a lot of families. Is you can't just hand them books and say, okay, I'll see you in May. You have to be home with
Darn
them.
it. Come on, really?
And so you have to take that into consideration. And if they're taking ballet and ham radio and glass blowing and hockey, you're driving them to all of those things all the time. So there are some things that are you okay with that? Are you going to, if you have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and a newborn, do you really want to load them up in the car 4 times a week, 6 times a week and drive them everywhere? You may want to. That may work great for your family. You may want to just take one class that's close to your house and go into it. It's okay to start slow. Definitely ask a lot of questions. Google it. Homeschool curriculum options. There are so many. Ask. If you come here to the library, lots of people will be able to point you to people they know who homeschool, who might be willing to sit down and talk with you. I sit down and talk with people regularly when they just want to know, what do I need to know? What am I not asking?
So I think it's overwhelming for a parent who's considering it.
It is. It's a lot. It's a lot. You're home with your kids and you're responsible for their education. You're not dropping them off in a building and letting someone else do that. So a lot of people are worried, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? What if my child doesn't understand? Those are all things that we can work through if you know people or ask for help. There's a lot of resources out there.
And I always feel like we live in kind of a small community, but for a smaller community, it sounds like we have a lot of resources for this.
We have tons of resources. Come to the library. Not only is the staff incredibly knowledgeable about what's going on, there's homeschool hangout. There's things like TAB, the Teen Advisory Board. Homeschoolers can be on TAB and be involved in the library. There's a summer reading program. There's the Library of Things. There's books. You don't have to buy them all. You can come to the library and check them out.
Noelle, you're hired.
Well, as you know, I'm here a lot.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it sounds like, I think a lot of people, when they, if they haven't learned a lot about it yet, they don't know about all the different options and resources and ways you can customize your child's education. So we really appreciate you sharing all this information. I think it's going to be really helpful to a lot of people out there. Just to kind of wrap it up, what kind of general advice would you have to somebody who's just starting off?
Ask questions and understand that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You can do this. You have more skills than you think. And give it a try.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is great.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're definitely very knowledgeable and passionate about it. So we appreciate you coming on and sharing this information with us. Thank you very much, Noel. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
That's another amazing interview that we've done on this podcast.
No, go right ahead and do that.
Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of us.
Yeah.
No, that was really great, and I think really, really essential and interesting information for people who are thinking about it.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But Brian, this is a library podcast, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk a little bit about books.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Come on. So,
why not?
Yeah, I'm dying to know. What are you reading right now?
Well, I'll bring up a couple of books that I've read recently that just recently came out that are getting a lot of buzz. One of them is the book Entrances and Exits by Michael Richards. It's a biography that he just put out. For those of you who don't know, he's best known for playing Jerry Seinfeld's eccentric neighbor Kramer on Seinfeld.
Cosmo Kramer.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a really interesting book. He plays this total goofball on the show, but if you read this book, he's actually a very interesting person who's had an interesting life, and has had a lot of really insightful things to say. So it's kind of weird how you see somebody act if they're on a TV show, they act one way. Certainly. And then they're completely different in real life. It's kind of weird to see that, but I thought it was a really great and interesting and insightful book. And I learned a lot about him and a lot about the show too, because I've been watching the show since I was a small child. So it was really insightful.
When you're reading it, are you hearing his voice
in some places? I was.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So many. There's not enough time here. There's so many great lines that he had on the show. I could spend hours quoting him. But.
Is it a hopeful book? Because we all know he went through a lot of tribulation.
Yeah, it really is. He's been through a lot. I won't get into the details, but he did go through a pretty serious incident shortly after the show ended. But it is very hopeful. He was open and honest about what happened and talked a lot about how he's learned from it and expressed a lot of optimism about himself and about the future and about humans in general. So
That's awesome.
I thought he did a really good job with it. So any fans of the show out there, definitely give that one a read, because I think you'll learn a lot. Amy, what about you? What's something that you've read recently that you've enjoyed?
Actually, I'm in the middle of reading it. To be honest, I just started it last night, but I read a lot of it because that's what I do. It's called The Life Impossible by Matt Haig. I think I'm saying his last name right. He had a really popular book out a few years ago called The Midnight Library that I also read. Read a few by him. The Humans is another title. I would call it fantasy-ish. So, or realistic fantasy is the genre I would put it in. And it's a little heart-wrenching. There's some funny parts to it. And I'm just about to get into kind of the magical realism part of it. But so far, excellent. And at this moment, I would recommend it.
All right.
But wonderful. I can turn on a book on a dime. So I can't promise that I can turn.
Yeah, well, you'll have to, maybe in the future, you'll have to let us know what you thought of the whole thing.
Yeah, stay tuned, folks. That was a cliffhanger.
Yeah. We're going to leave in suspense. So with that, we will go ahead and wrap up this episode. Amy, just like last time, I had tons of fun doing
Me
this.
Too.
I hope you did too.
I did.
So, keep looking out for more episodes. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and hopefully this will encourage you to do some more reading. If you're thinking about homeschooling, maybe trying to learn even more about it, maybe even come to some of our homeschool hangout events, and keep coming back into the library, because we love to see people come in and take advantage of everything we have to offer. So, Amy, once again, thank you so much. Hope you all enjoyed it, and have a good rest of your day. Thanks so much.
Ta-ta.